time of the week. It is our weekly water cooler conversation, and today we are going to be talking about What If Episode 2. If you are new to this channel, if you are new to this show, every week we break down the newest comic book show. Generally, it's been the Disney Plus shows because Marvel's been cranking out incredible art week to week, and we break down comic book references, we break down Easter eggs, we break down impact on the greater universe, all of that stuff. And what's tricky about What If is everything's kind of an Easter egg. Everything's a giant reference to another giant thing. And this episode in particular is no exception. We're going to be talking all about episode 2. It is going to be full of spoilers. We're going to be referencing all of the things that impacted what might become of the MCU, all of the references to the past MCU, any comic book stuff. There's a couple little comic book things. All of that is going to be coming at you in just a moment. So make sure you've seen the episode first, because the fun of this What If show is definitely, it's almost like Easter eggs the show. It's definitely what's going to be referenced, what's going to be fun, what's going to happen over here. So I don't want to ruin that for you. I want you to get the experience of every little detail and fun nook and cranny in this very Easter egg heavy episode. In 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. I love the impact that one person can have in the entire universe, and I think that's a really fun commentary using the What If standard. I liked episode 1 of What If. I loved episode 2 of What If. I think the difference was the scope of the what if factor is exponentially bigger in episode 2. I really like the character of Captain Carter. I really appreciate that they made that the pilot, so to speak. I think she's going to be a really impactful character going forward in the MCU. But I think the issue is the size of the what if is so much smaller. So in that world, we only really see the ramifications for one film, really. We see one change in the MCU through that choice. Whereas episode 2, we see a staggering, insane genre and zeitgeist shift of the entire galaxy is different because T'Challa is Star-Lord, not Peter Quill. Now, that's amazing because the version of Star-Lord that Peter Quill thinks he is, T'Challa kind of is. Peter Quill wants to be this legendary outlaw, this almost Robin Hood, and T'Challa accomplishes it with much more pizzazz and charm because he is more of that guy. He does cause this galaxy-wide impact and does cause this change, and the good influence of T'Challa is able to change. Drax's planet isn't destroyed. He still has his wife and kids, so he's happy. He's a bartender. Thanos is a kind of used car salesman with a pipe dream of genocide. Thanos is a chill dude that gardens, which is what he becomes after he accomplishes his goals. And he's a Ravager, but he's a guy that's kind of got this idea that's never going to come to fruition. All of us have that friend. It was really fun to see Thanos that way. We get basically a fanboy out of Diamond Hansu, and we see all of these things in a really fun way with What If. This is what the show can be. This is what If can do. It can change the galaxy instead of just changing one little arc in America. Now, yes, there was bigger impact from Captain Carter. Yes, a lot of other things did occur because of episode 1, but not to the scale of episode 2. So for me, episode 1 was a really fun B-. It was proof of concept. It was stunning animation. There was some sequences in it that really can only exist in animation. The Iron Giant flavor of what they did with Steve Rogers in the Iron Man suit, the Hydra Stomper, is some of the best example of why animation in comic books is so important. But this episode does the story version of that and tells a story that really couldn't exist in live action, and the scope of it is insurmountable. It's truly insane. So I'm really excited to see the show going forward, to see episode 3 and beyond of combining those giant impacts with also this staggering animation. We didn't have Gamora in this episode. I think Gamora is going to be the Thanos of that universe. I'm sure she's going to pop up later, and they might even save that for later. But with no one hunting the Infinity Stones, I think that's something that needs to occur in a universe. I think it's one of those great constants. So I think Gamora is going to be hunting the Infinity Stones since Nebula never got turned into a cyborg. She only has the eye. She's a loved daughter. We didn't see Gamora once, so I do assume she's going to be our Thanos in one of these galaxies, one of these universes. And then at the end, we did see that this universe might be ending because no one's there to stop Peter Quill from joining his dad, Ego. If you remember in Guardians of the Galaxy 2, Ego was kind of like Zeus. He put his dick in everything, and he tried to find a new heir to his cosmic abilities, and then he wanted to join with them to take over the galaxy. And now he can do that in this universe because Peter Quill's just a dude at Dairy Queen, which I thought was genius. So this episode had everything I wanted. It had the comedy. It had the charm of Chadwick Boseman really, really owning Star-Lord and T'Challa. I loved seeing the combination of what T'Challa would be without the responsibility of Black Panther, and also what he could do with his exploring nature without being tied to Wakanda, and then going back to Wakanda with that exploration. He kind of got a walkabout, like the Australian concept of a walkabout, of becoming your own man, being an explorer, and then coming back home. He got to do that as Black Panther, and that allowed him to be a better Star-Lord, and arguably maybe a better Black Panther now that he's back in Wakanda. It was great to hear Chadwick Boseman getting to be another take on T'Challa. Hearing his free-spirited T'Challa really warmed my heart. Getting to hear Chadwick gets another version of that character before we lost him was so bittersweet, so powerful. There are 4 episodes with T'Challa, 4 episodes with Chadwick Boseman. This was the leading role episode, but we do get 3 more moments with Chadwick before we lose him. So those are going to be bittersweet as well, to hear different takes on the character and the fun he got to have in playing that character. We will see, time will tell. Also worth noting, this episode revolved around the Embers of Genesis, which basically terraform planets with the quickness to try to save large chunks of the galaxy. The ultimate Robin Hood thing would be to steal something that can terraform a planet and then deliver it to poor planets. It's the ultimate in Robin Hood, and that's basically what the Star-Lord is. And those things are really cool, but they're not from the comics that I know of. I couldn't remember any Embers of Genesis. I also looked up Embers of Genesis, and I don't think I'm wrong. I don't think they're comic book rooted, pun intended, but I do think it kind of has that Krakoa flavor. In the comic books right now, the X-Men just terraformed Mars, and in the comic books right now, the X-Men have a bunch of seeds and plants and abilities and all these very nature-based things that are changing the very fabric of reality on planet Earth. So maybe that's the closest comic book reference to the Embers of Genesis. If you are playing along at home with comic book stuff, that is original to the MCU and is original to What If. All right, other than that, let's talk about the ramifications one man can have on an entire universe with What If T'Challa became Star-Lord. The opening credits to this show, I love the voiceover and just the scope and how trippy the Marvel Universe can be, and them really capturing that in the opening credits. The reflection and use of light is already stunning. I love seeing Uatu reflected. I love the way they're playing with frames. I love the way they're just letting you be immersed in this comic book come to life. Destiny determined by the nature of your world. I love the wordplay here with the way that destiny is determined by your nature. Like you, who you are, your nature, who you are. That is also determined by the nature of your world. So who you are is determined by the nature of your world, like what your environment is, and your destiny is determined by your nature. So your world impacts everything you do, how you're raised, where you grow up, what all those things, that shapes your nature, and then the destiny that you go on your path is shaped by your nature. It's a really fun turn of phrase, and I thought it was, it's Jeffrey Wright, so it's going to sound great, but it's also a really cool concept to kind of play around with. Like, why are you who you are, dear viewer, the person watching this right now? What shaped you? How much of it was nature, how much of it was nurture, how much of it is going to be destiny, how much is your environment shaped who you are, and that's going to change your destiny, all of that. Chadwick Boseman back is a beautiful thing. The moment I heard him, I was just like, oof. It was like, again, it was very, very bittersweet, but really powerful. I thought it was interesting they set this one in 2008. The original heist of the Morag in Guardians of the Galaxy was 2014. So this takes place 6 years earlier. So conceptually, even if Peter Quill hadn't just been a DQ employee, it wouldn't happen for another 6 years. Obviously, Yondu's not going around picking up multiple kids, but I'm just saying this is 6 years earlier than the heist that we know of from Guardians of the Galaxy Part 1. Immediately recognized, immediately beloved, all the things that Star-Lord wanted, the Peter Quill Star-Lord wanted, T'Challa Star-Lord was able to accomplish. We see the incredible performance from Diamond Hansu, who is just having a ball here in a very, very different way. Love that he is a blend of Black Panther and Star-Lord. I love that there's still the integrity of Black Panther. I love that there's still the wholesome goodness of Black Panther, but in a space pirate that is as feared and recognized as he always wanted to be. The endless respect for him is a blast. I love the fight. I'm so glad he hired him. That was really cute. After all that, he's like, this guy, and he carries him him out. He hires him. He's now a Ravager. No treasure is worth as much as the good that can be done with it. That is how you become Robin Hood. That is how you become the ultimate Star-Lord. I love that line. No treasure is worth as much as the good that can be done with it. The only reason money is worth having is to really utilize it in a way that benefits. Hoarding money like Smaug is just, I mean, billionaires are great at it, but money is to better your life, to better others' lives. Like, the energy we put into work that gives us money is only as good as how we spend it. If you use it like a monster and ruin the planet, fuck you. But if you steal from the evil and give to the good, there's plenty of merit in that. I mean, I'm not encouraging corporate theft or over giant billionaire entities. And I think it's really beautiful that it's spelled out so succinctly here, and I do think there's definitely merit in how you spend your money and what money is for. And they're really addressing that in a really fun way by having this heist and all of that playing around with this take on Star-Lord. Destiny equation and the product of variables, that entire concept was so much fun. There is an equation to everything we do. There is a series of variables that is mathematically based, because all things are kind of mathematically based. So it's interesting to look at this what if concept of we're all on a trajectory. I don't personally believe in fate. I don't personally believe in predestination, but I do believe there's a finite amount of choices, that there are alternate realities of the choices we make, and what if is addressing those. Me drinking coffee right now. There's a reality where I didn't drink coffee right now. And that's going to impact the next thing I do. That's going to make me say impact instead of impact. There are different things and different variables. And I love that this looks at the destiny of our predisposition, and with one little ripple in the pond can cause a whole new universe, which is what the show's about. But I also think it's our reality as well. Cute spin on origin. Great to hear Sullivan back as Taserface and Gunn back as Kraglin. Sean Gunn back reprising his role from Guardians of the Galaxy. And one of my favorites from This Is Us himself, Mr. Chris Sullivan, is back as Taserface, and they're having a damn good time as Ravagers. Brolin back as Thanos. I'm so glad I didn't know this. I'm so glad I got to have that surprise. I'm so glad I got to experience this without even seeing an image of it, because it felt really, really special to hear Josh Brolin back as Thanos. And what a Thanos. He literally was able to charm Thanos out of being a genocidal maniac. He was able to, with his words, make Thanos not the Mad Titan. What an incredible T'Challa. Also, that raises the question, is T'Challa as Star-Lord more impactful than T'Challa as Black Panther? Black Panther in Wakanda, Black Panther in the galaxy. These are the things you got to look at with impact. It is a fascinating thing to really see what someone can do if they're taken out of their environment. He saved half the universe by just talking to Thanos. We then briefly get Drax and the "you look truly dreadful." All of that dialogue was fun. I love that Drax is so literal. I love the fun that we have with him. It would have been nice to have Dave Bautista back. Apparently he wasn't asked, and then we found out it was some sort of miscommunication. We'll see. It was a great sound alike, and that actor killed it with the Drax interpretation. It's great to see happy Drax because his family didn't die, and him owing that to T'Challa was beautiful. They destroyed Wakanda, is what we find out in the episode, that Wakanda was destroyed because that's what people are. That's who Earthlings are. That makes the Star-Lord origin even more interesting. Obviously, we get the same twist that we did in Guardians of the Galaxy, where Peter Quill was lied to. I love that Karen Gillan got to be Happy Nebula. Nebula without the cyborg enhancements, Nebula without the war, Nebula without the abusive father. All of that was really beautiful. And to hear Karen still have that stilted dialogue, still have that cold Nebula that she does so well, but with a little bit more warmth and a little bit more navigation. Like Karen Gillan, the MVP of the Avengers, in my opinion. What she was able to do in Infinity War and Endgame is astounding. Got a lot of love for Karen Gillan and her Nebula. I love her calling Thanos Captain Genocide, and the running joke of genocide. Genocide's obviously not a joke, but the running joke of Thanos not thinking that it's genocide when it so clearly is. The running joke that in real life we've all been like, but he could use those powers to allow for more resources, not kill people, and that being, yeah, that's the solution. Them making, it's again, Marvel sees flaws in logic and retroactively solves them. They obviously did a great job making Thanos was right. A trend making that, you sit on the 405 during rush hour, you definitely think that getting rid of half the people, if it's random, is logical when you're enraged, and Thanos was enraged. But obviously the correct answer is allowing for more resources, not hurting and killing people. So I love that there was that running punchline of that with Thanos in this episode, and him being like, just frustrated with people. Tavon the Collector being more intimidating but quirky, like in the older comics. The Collector is very, very cool in the comic books, and I love what Benicio del Toro does with them in the movies, but we haven't really had that intimidating of a Collector, really. Demon Hansu, again, having the best time. I love him playing around here. We also got Seth Green back as Howard the Duck, getting to say some iconic Howard the Duck lines. You know, rhyming with duck is a Howard the Duck thing, alliteration, all of that playfulness. Seth Green murdered this cameo. I think he's an incredible Howard the Duck. It really would have been special to have that Hulu episode where we get Howard the Duck as a full-on show. We were going to have Howard the Duck, Hitmonkey, MODOK, and they kept changing the fourth one, but it was a female-led show that they kept changing. That never came to pass. They were going to be called the Offenders. They were going to gather like the Avengers and be the Offenders. It never came to pass because of the Jeff Loeb TV ending and the merger and causing Disney Plus to really kick off. There is an alternate universe, a what if out there, where there's an entire Seth Green Howard the Duck show, and this little cameo gave us a taste of that, and that was amazing. Obviously, Seth has popped up in the movies 2 times as Howard the Duck, but this would have been really special to have more Howard the Duck. I hope he's back in more What If, because that was a blast. We got a very brief Howard Star-Lord team-up, which was fun. He basically went and drank, but it was really fun for a moment. Hearing that Wakandan sound cue just gave me chills. Every time I heard any cue from the world of Wakanda, just right here. I cannot wait for the next movie. What a powerful world they built that just a sound cue can give you full body chills. This Ravagers lied to Star-Lord story hurts even more somehow. Obviously, it's the same thing as in the original. Yondu lied, and he actually did have a home. He did have a family. In this case, way more literally, multiple family, an entire nation waiting for him. But you still love Yondu. It's really impressive, and you still understand-ish, kinda, where he's coming from. Not really, but it's a beautiful story, and they handled it very, very well. Nebula was on the up and up to Star-Lord. A double cross, a triple cross. Really enjoyed that little twist about 2/3 into the episode. This ep is great, but you can't replace Benicio live action, and it shows. It was very, very hard for me to watch an animated Benicio del Toro because there's so much in his performance that is little facial tics and choices, and it felt odd to me. Some actors, we talked about in the first episode, voice actor versus live action actor. There's something about Benicio del Toro that I can't connect with in animation, so it was very strange to try to vibe with this character without the Benicio visual of it all. They did a great job animating him. It just shifted the Collector in a very interesting way. Mad Titan Thanos, again, I'm so glad to say the surprise, but he said, "I'm mad," and it just seeing mad underneath Thanos in the subtitle was beautiful because he's the Mad Titan. I loved that so very much. Very clever. The Collector taking out Avengers and Hela is intense. We saw Mjolnir and Captain America's shield and a dark elf. Lots of things in the Collector's thing. So he was like taking out everybody. He took out the Avengers. He took out Hela. He's got Hela's headdress. All of that shows the power of the Collector and how he's evolved to fill that power void left by Thanos. And then the same ending as he should have met in the original universe. Karina got him. And she tried to with the Power Stone, but she wasn't strong enough to handle the Power Stone in the live-action universe. She was able to get her revenge after being trapped in a cage here by unleashing all of his collection on him. They did rescue Cosmo, which was the right thing to do. Cosmo is with them on the ship. We did rescue Cosmo, which was very important. You got to bring Cosmo with you. And Thanos being that guy at the bar, again, used car salesman. Thanos just at the bar, telling tale of what he wishes he could do and what his ideas are. He's like a bad philosophy professor, but it's very funny. Then we got the last scene with Peter Quill at Dairy Queen. This episode is fantastic because they even give us that answer. So we find out what would have happened to Thanos, what would have happened to Korvac, what would have happened with Yondu, what would have happened with T'Challa. The impact is huge, and again, the galaxy-wide impact is huge. Drax's family's alive. Half the universe is saved. All of this is the power of What If, and then we get a little denouement with Peter Quill at Dairy Queen and him basically just being a guy that works the night shift, cleaning up the DQ, and then Ego, the Living Planet, as the great Kurt Russell reprising his role, comes in, and basically that's probably the end of that universe because he's going to accomplish his goal that he didn't get to accomplish in Guardians of the Galaxy 2 because Peter Quill is not, in fact, the wholesome and just Star-Lord of the Guardians of the Galaxy that he would become in an alternate reality. Very, very good episode of What If, and leaving the great Chadwick Boseman, T'Challa, in Wakanda felt right, and that moment was really, really impactful and beautiful, and I'm really proud of what they were able to accomplish. The show is great. I loved episode 2. Let's talk about some Easter eggs. There was a rocky fist that the collector used that he said was hacked off the carcass of a terribly chatty Cronin, the race that is Korg. Korg is a Cronin, so they probably killed Korg. Taika Waititi's Korg was looked to be made into a weapon, a very dark joke, but Korg, it looks like that's his arm, very chatty Cronin. Malekith's dagger was also in the montage of weaponry. He wields the dagger very briefly. That is, of course, the Dark Elf in Thor the Dark World. I don't think that was actually Malekith in one of the cages. Malekith in the comics and, of course, after Thor Dark World's second act has, the half-burnt face. So I assume they'd have that kind of imagery to make it Malekith. I think that was just a Dark Elf. We also have, of course, the Necro Sword along with Hela's helmet in the sequence with all the weaponry, as well as Captain America's shield. Mjolnir, like I said, I think he took out all the Avengers on the way to that. I love the offhanded remark that Thanos gardens now to stay calm, because that is, of course, the first thing he did after accomplishing his goal was starting that garden on that garden planet. I love that that's his end goal. Hippie Thanos doing the work. Just that throwaway line made me real happy. I do think we're going to see a Gamora that's hunting the Infinity Stones since Thanos has not. I think that'll be some element of one of the what-ifs. Time will tell. The Collector's fate, which is basically getting attacked by a ton of people that he subjugated, enslaved, and trapped, is the same fate as the Grandmaster and in Thor Ragnarok, who is his brother in the comic books. So in the comic books, Jeff Goldblum, the Grandmaster, and Benicio del Toro, the Collector, are brothers, so it's kind of the beautiful symmetry that the way the Collector got taken out in What If is the way that the Grandmaster gets taken out in Thor Ragnarok. Just kind of a fun little brotherly moment, the Shakespearean nature of comic books, the family element, as we tend to have. In the Wakandan party, Kraglin talks about jump points making your face all scrambly. We actually saw that happen, so it's kind of a reference to a what if of our reality in Guardians of the Galaxy 2. I really enjoyed the little throwaway lines of things that did come to pass in our reality. There's a joke about Robin Leach instead of Robin Hood. Robin Leach was a real-life host of Lifestyles of the Rich and the Famous, so that is kind of a fun thing that maybe Yondu knows some English pop culture, some American pop culture, some 80s pop culture, which might be why Star-Lord got so obsessed with it, even beyond the Walkman, because maybe Yondu has some pop culture ties. So him saying Robin Leach could have been just misspeaking, but also could have been a reference to him knowing some American pop culture. Thought that was a fun little tie-in there. I mentioned the 2008 versus 2014 thing. Peter Quill at the end is listening to Space Age Love Song. This is the Flock of Seagulls song that they're listening to in Spider-Man Homecoming at the dance. So it's kind of fun little tie-in. Peter Quill, Peter Parker. That song impacts both universes. The song shows up in live action in Spider-Man Homecoming, shows up in animation in Peter Quill's Dairy Queen sequence. The comic book reference I enjoyed most is that the central bank heist of Tarnax 4 is actually a place in the comic books. Tarnax 4 is the throne world, homeworld, but they call it throne world of the Skrulls, and it being destroyed is actually what kicked off Secret Invasion, and Secret Invasion is another series we're getting from Disney+. So Secret Invasion is coming. Samuel Jackson's in it. Ben Mendelsohn's in it. It's going to be a full show. That's the first time we've mentioned Tarnax 4, I believe, in the MCU, and Tarnax 4 was destroyed by Galactus, which kicks off Secret Invasion. I'm not saying we're getting Galactus before Secret Invasion, but I'm not saying that this might be the setup of the dialogue of Galactus coming. Either way, it's a Skrull homeworld. Either way, it's our first mention of Tarnax 4 that I know of, I think. They might have mentioned it in Captain Marvel, but I don't think they did. So having the bank heist in Tarnax 4, getting that reference, tying in the comic books, tying in Secret Invasion, potentially tying in Galactus, makes my comic nerd heart very happy. Those were my favorite Easter eggs in this episode. This has been another weekly water cooler conversation. I appreciate each and every one of you so much. We'll be back next week with episode 3, which I hear is the best episode yet. I hear they get better and better and better. We'll be back at 10 a.m. next week for more of this. If you enjoyed this, also check out The Late Con with Coy Jandreau, where we edit this, throw some graphics in, make it a little bit more of a finished, polished product of a show. The Late Con with Coy Jandreau, so be sure to subscribe to that, because that's going to have things soon. That's where I'm growing some new stuff. It's taken a little bit because of the Delta variant, and there's been some new variables. But remember, like, comment, and share this. That way I can keep doing them. I just want to see these numbers boost as much as possible. I want to get these numbers up so I can try to do this for a network or for a studio, and the more views it's got, the more likely I can argue that there's an audience for it, because I love doing these weekly water cooler conversations with you guys, and I won't be able to do it at a network or a studio without numbers, because the world is run on clicks and views, so I need to get my clicks and views up. Speaking of which, if you have Marvel fans that enjoy this and any other show, please send this to them, because I am 300 away from swipe up ability. Instagram, you need 10K to swipe up. I need that 10K so I can get the swipe up power. So please send people that don't follow me so I can get swipe up ability. Also follow me on TikTok. If you guys know Straw Hat Goofy, he and I have got a couple things in mind over on TikTok and in other mediums. Keep your eyes peeled for more of me on the internet. I'm gonna be everywhere. I appreciate all of you. I will see you next week. Be nice to each other, be kind, think twice, be the good you want to see in the world, and be like Chadwick Boseman's T'Challa and be so good that Star-Lord becomes a force for good in the entire galaxy. You can have that kind of impact. Anyone can have that kind of impact. Think about how it felt to hear Chadwick's voice and how much that man affected your life. You can affect people's lives. Just be good. Be the Star-Lord you want to see in the world. Much love, you lovelies. I'll see you soon.